This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater, joined by a new friend out of the great city and state, St. Louis, Missouri, and it's 𝐴𝑛𝑑𝑒𝑒𝑟𝑠𝑡, Maestri, who is the head of marketing at Christian Academy of Greater St. Louis. And they're doing some really cool things over there. And him and I had a chat about maybe a couple weeks ago, a month ago, and got kind of some of these topics we're about to share with you guys, and I got a little bit excited about them, and I'm excited to share them with you. You guys can learn from them and grow from them as a school leader, and we're going to jump into those here in just a few minutes. But of course, before we do that, I do pass it off to our guest every single time to introduce themselves. So Anderson, welcome to the podcast today, sir.
Well, thanks for having me. It'll be a pleasure to talk about this today.
We're going to have a blast, man. Well, hey, I start with this question for everybody. And if I was to visit you in St. Louis, Missouri, what would you say, Mitchell? You need to eat this and do this to experience St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, St. Louis is known for the toasted ravioli, and so you got to eat that.
Okay.
And then you got to visit. Most people would say the Arch, but I'd say the zoo. Our zoo is free, and it's the best in the country.
Wow, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty crazy. Free zoo. Why is it free? Just tax dollars covering it for everybody?
Well, it was an agreement, I believe, when the World's Fair was held here, is that the attractions in Forest Park would all be free. Our art museum, our history museum, our science center, it's all free.
Very cool. All right, now this toasted ravioli, I've never heard of that or had that before, but I'm sure there's got to be the places there that go, oh, don't get the toasted ravioli from that place. You got to go to this place. So where am I going to get good toasted ravioli?
Ironically, I wouldn't know. I don't eat it. I just know it's famous here. People that even in soccer games, they have toasted ravioli man with a toasted ravioli hat and all of that.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now as we talk because
you gotta look it up.
Oh, that looks fire. All right, I love it. So okay, toasted ravioli. And I got to go to St. Louis for that. I've only been to St. Louis once when I was a kid. We did the Arch and all that stuff. So I haven't been back in many, many years. So, all right.
Oh, yeah.
I know what to do now. We're going to go to the zoo. Family would love that. And then get some toasted ravioli. Perfect. Well, Anderson, as we dive in today, obviously, before we jump into like the nitty gritty, give me a little bit of background on you, who you are, how you got your position, and how long you've been in your position at the school. And then we'll jump into some questions I have for you.
Oh, wow. It's a very long story because I'm originally from Brazil. I'll try to summarize here for us. And I came here for college, ended up actually first at Christian Academy over 20 years ago in 2002 when I just fresh out of college to be a Bible teacher there. Then I left and I was a minister and I worked for the YMCA and I worked for other organizations. And now I came back about 9 years ago. So with the school, I've been on and off for about 20 years. In education in general for about 30. And so
been doing it a while, man. This is not your first rodeo.
Yeah, not at all.
Good. Well, I know some of these things you created. You're doing this thing called the Learning Lab system that you're doing for, I believe, just learning a language. And so I'd love you to share, please, like what is that? What are you guys doing with this system that you've created, and help our audience be able to hear it and be able to do the same if they want to do it.
Oh yeah, what I did is a few years back, well, when I first got back to Christian Academy about 9 years ago, we were in the process of losing one of our teachers, our Spanish teachers was retiring, and it's a difficult market to find a certified language person and to head a program like that. And with my experience in being bilingual, being from Brazil, and actually with my master's emphasis being in English as a second language, I've noticed some trends, and I noticed some some things that were in place, even with my wife trying to learn Portuguese, that we have all the tools in our hands. It's just a matter of accountability. We have to stick with a program, especially with language. It takes 3 to 4 years of dedicated effort for your brain to start to switch things and the things to start to click. And so I looked into creating a system with the tools that we have. In this case, there's several language programs out there that, as I analyzed all of them, they're very similar. They're very efficient. All of them have strengths and weaknesses. But what was in common to all of them was that was lacking was accountability. Because if you start to learn French on your own and then life gets in the way, you stop and you do something else, and then you don't stay consistent. But with students, they're so versed in technology and using the internet and all of those things that the missing piece that this program brings is that accountability, is that you have to stick with it for so long, but you're going to have somebody over your shoulder kind of helping you along and making sure as you start to fumble something, because that's what I've learned also with language learning. After some time, everybody hits a wall, and having that instructor, that facilitator, making sure that when you hit the wall, you don't quit. And there's the obligation of the classroom. You actually get through those hurdles, and eventually the language starts to click. And that's why we gravitated towards language first, because of the need of staffing and the program. But it also applies to any subject that you can create a digital delivery system. Okay. And so it's basically a flipped classroom on steroids. You allow the online element or the digital element to do the instruction, to deliver the curriculum. And then when they are with the teacher in the classroom, the assessment takes place, the checking of where we are, the progression of the students to see where we are and continue to do. And so I guess to describe, more concisely, it's a flipped classroom with that human element that maintains the progression moving forward.
And in the current way, like people learn a language, is it somebody just up there saying, here you go, read your chapter in the book, and we're going to practice a little bit, and then okay, you're on your way home, is like the typical way to learn a language?
Yeah, well, people have different approaches to it. Depends on the learner, how they like. But the main thing of language is repetition. Your brain has to believe that you're going to need it. And so if you are inconsistent with it, you're given that message that you don't really need it, so don't retain it. So in the case of the classroom, they're going to need it. And so there's that forced obligation. And so, but we had students that really wanted to learn the language. And so they did way beyond just what the program was doing. But back to I got a little sidetracked, but back to the thought of the program. Some programs focus on a conversation and the conversational aspect of the language. Some focus on the grammar, and they all have different methods that they use to try to teach you. Because my wife originally used Rosetta Stone. That's when I started to analyze all this. Then I realized Duolingo has very similar things, but it was free. So I was like, well, I like free. But you have Berlitz, you have Babbel, and now there's a new one that keeps popping on my feed that is JumpSpeak. And they bash the other methods, but that's just a sales pitch. It's like they were bashing the other methods. This doesn't work. Well, none of it works if you're not committed long enough. And that's what I've learned. It's the more you need it, the more you use it. One of the things that I always get on my students' case is, if you don't use it, if you don't speak, your brain won't believe that you need to speak this. So they're all shy about speaking the language incorrectly and all that. So you have to put it to use. And that's how I've learned my English. I was born speaking Portuguese, and growing up in Brazil, I just learned my English through language classes, and then the Spanish that I learned was a friend from Argentina that just said, I'm gonna speak to you in Spanish and you're going to learn. And I said, okay. And then it went from there. And to this day, when I'm around our Latino community, I notice my Spanish getting better because I'm using it. And so that's the key ingredient there in any program. It's consistency, repetition, and actually usage of the language.
And I know full immersion, obviously. I mean, that's like the best.
Mm-hmm.
The best
Yeah,
way.
that's
You just go and good luck.
yeah.
You're going to have to learn to
Yeah.
take it by. I mean, I remember one of my kids in my youth group years ago did a year in Spain, and he knew no Spanish before he went over there and came back
Mm-hmm.
obviously fully fluent. But I remember him coming back fully fluent, confident in his Spanish, and then seeing him a year or two later. And he said he was having a hard time remembering things because he didn't
Mm-hmm.
use it anymore. Came back, got it to college, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Man, it's there, but I can't remember it super well." I'm like, "That's crazy to like live somewhere for a year and use it and need it and all that, and take schooling with
Mm-hmm.
it, and then it's gone." And I know for me, like my only story is like I remember going to Mexico with our church for a mission trip, and I didn't really know much Spanish, and you knew the basic hola, adios stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But you start playing with these kids, and we start playing soccer, and they just like you keep hearing the same words over and over again, or they would hold up something and say this, whatever it was, and you kind of crazy, you start picking it up pretty quick when it's all
Mm-hmm.
you're hearing all day long. So
Yep.
I do agree with that. You got to use it. You got to be in, have an opportunity to use it, which I feel like that is the hard part. I don't know how it is there in St. Louis, but I'm sure with like different cultures, different cities, states across the country, you can learn it
Mm-hmm.
all day long at school and have it, but sometimes there's just not a great opportunity to actually use it outside. And I live in
Mm-hmm.
South Florida, huge Hispanic population here. So like I could, if I really wanted to, I could speak Spanish every day somewhere. Cause you're going to find like we have multiple neighbors that speak Spanish and all of it. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I could use it. I'm like, I need to start using it more because I have no excuse. There's an opportunity to actually use it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of states, there's not an opportunity to do
Yeah.
that.
Well, and that's what the facilitator does. It try to create that need and kind of force the student into that I got to use it. And what I've done, because I've done this now almost 8 years now, different languages, different classes, the different groups of kids, is make part of the add-on that I put to the assignment. Um, they have the digital aspect of it, but then when I'm in a classroom with them, I try to get them. If I don't know the language, I say, teach me, show me how to say this. And then the way I assess them is I listen to whatever the program it's telling me it sounds like, and without them hearing it, I ask them to tell me, make them use the language, make them say it. And so creating those opportunities for them, that's where the school comes in, because they might not pursue it. Like you said, we might have the chance but not pursue it, or we may not have the chance at all. And that's where the human element comes in and creates those opportunities. I remember my very first class, first group, I had Spanish, French, and German, and exactly split equally, because I had 9 students, and 3 learning Spanish, 3 learning German, and 3 learning what did I say? French? No.
German,
Spanish,
German.
German, Spanish, French, and German. I'm trying to remember now. I got confused. But basically, what we did is we divided each group with one of the languages, and then we played hangman on the board with the different foreign language. They didn't know which language it was, and we put the words up, and they try to figure out, and that was interesting. And so, and then. And I've had several different classes, and I've passed the torch to other teachers that when we needed somebody else at a different block to be facilitating. And so through the years, I've seen the successes and the failures of the program and how we can tweak it and make sure. And one thing that I can say is that the facilitator is an essential ingredient. It's if you don't have the right person facilitating the class and the environment, you're asking for trouble.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the 𝐻𝑒𝑟𝑠𝒂 Foundation. I absolutely love the 𝐻𝑒𝑟𝑠𝒂 Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the 𝐻𝑒𝑟𝑠𝒂 Foundation Podcast Network. The 𝐻𝑒𝑟𝑠𝒂 Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the 𝐻𝑒𝑟𝑠𝒂 Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the 𝐻𝑒𝑟𝑠𝒂 Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit 𝐻ERZOGFoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. What are some of those things that kind of a school should be looking for to find that right person, and if they have that person, how do you train them and equip them to be able to do something like this at the school?
Well, you want that teacher that is always on top of the students. It's the one that's not gonna let them get too far away without them knowing what's going on. That's the main ingredient, and that's what I've noticed. It's the more lax teachers, or even if I had been a little more lax myself because I'm busy with something else, being the head of marketing, and if I'm worried about a campaign and I'm not paying as much attention to them as it's needed, they can start drifting. And so if you have that teacher that is not as on top of the students, and so I don't want to sound too negative, but the stickler for the rule, you want that teacher that's like, nope, this is what you're doing and that's how we're gonna go, but I don't feel like it. And tough luck. You keep you keep working at it. So you're looking for that teacher that, even if they don't know any language, in the case of a language program, that by simply being attentive to the student throughout the entire period, it's not just just a few minutes. It's a time consuming. People don't realize just because you're not creating the curriculum, it's the teacher doesn't have much work. No, you actually have more work because you have to understand what all these curriculums are doing and what the kids are being exposed to. And then you are there the entire time over their shoulders and helping if they need help, because as an adult, you might be able to figure out something even without knowing the subject as it's being delivered. You might be able to brainstorm with them and problem solve it. And so the teacher you're looking for is somebody with a level of attention to the student that it requires more than the laxed teacher that's just sitting back and letting the student do their thing, because it is very self-driven. So you have that risk of, well, they're doing the stuff in their computer. I'm going to worry about this grading. I'm going to worry about, this task that I'm trying to create while they're working on their stuff. And so the primary thing you're looking for is a level of engagement. And as far as the teacher learning what to do, it's just a matter of being more comfortable with the technology. Because I didn't design this to be just language and just to be a specific language software, is to be any digital element that the school is comfortable with, and it's within their price range. That's why I say free is good. But if you're a school with a little more means and you can, partner with somebody and pay for like I said, my wife was doing Rosetta Stone. That has a cost to it. And so if a school wants to use that, that's okay too. You just have to familiarize yourself with the software. So that teacher has to be a little comfortable with the different softwares that might come. You have to spend some time analyzing what is in that curriculum. For ours specifically, what I looked at our former Spanish program, and the requirement for us, it's 2 years of foreign language. And so I looked at those two curriculums, the year 1 and year 2, and I counted how many grammatical concepts they were learning in that Spanish curriculum, and it was about 100 in
Okay.
in total. In 2 years, you're learning 100 grammatical concepts, verbs and conjugation, and those different things like that. And so what I did is I looked at we use Duolingo because it's free, so not necessarily because it's the best. I don't want to vouch for it. It's just it's free. That's great. Um, and so, but I looked at their curriculum for each language. So before we say a student can take a language, we take the time to look at what's in that curriculum. Is it enough to justify 2 years of that language? Is there enough French in there? Is there enough German? Is there enough? And through the years, sure enough, the one that had the least, but we allowed it to go because we knew the Duolingo was updating and adding more things to, was Japanese. In the beginning, it only had a few units, but we knew they were updating, and now it's up to the level that we're like, okay, we're completely okay with it. So the student that started when he was just a little thought, oh, I'm going to get done with this with nothing. It all of a sudden, it kind of stretched, and it's like, oh, you have a whole lot more to learn. And that's the idea. It's like you learn as much as you can. And some of the language is not going to get through everything, not in 2 years. And what I always tell my students is you need beyond what we require you, because the school can only require 2 years as far as time constraints and state requirements and all of that. But I tell them, as a language learner myself, if you just do 2 years, you're going to lose it all in a split second when you're done with it. You have to pursue more afterwards. You have to continue to speak it. You have to continue to study so that eventually it all clicks in your brain and you're able to actually become fluent in a language. So for my research, um, I give it 3 to 4 years of consistent learning before your brain rewires. So that's what I've learned in linguistics and in childhood development. It takes about 3 to 4 years of consistent language usage for the neural pathways to reform and reshape as a bilingual person or multilingual person.
Okay.
So,
Does
mhm.
the teacher need to know the language to do this, to like do this class?
Not at all. Not at all. Being an attentive teacher. It makes a difference, and you learn some things through the times. Because I don't know German, and we had German, and it was very interesting as the students are showing me what they're learning. That's one of the key elements that helps a lot as a facilitator, is having them try to teach you if you don't know the material, or having those conversations, because those conversations help the student to assimilate whatever they're going through so much more, even if it's not language, whatever the subject, because we also have this for Christian evidences, apologetics. And when the students take that, I love it that we sit in class, and after they watch a video and they're like, oh, and we talk about the topic. And so they don't have to know it. They have to be flexible. They have to be able to adapt. But for example, I only know English, Portuguese, and Spanish fluently. I dabbed in French that I've been trying to learn for years. And that's why I've learned that I can't follow my own program because of time. But if I could, I would now be speaking French also. Uh, but so I only have these three languages that I'm actually fluent in, but I've had students learn Japanese, Korean, French, German. Trying to think. I think those are the main four that we've had students go through the program.
Oh, wow.
And it also depends on the student's approach to it. We've had students that were excellent students, but they were just doing the language to get the credit that they needed. They didn't care for the language. They picked one and they said, I don't care if we're done in 2 years and I don't know any of this language, as long as I get my A and I move on. They didn't care about learning the language, which is it's an essential part of language learning. It's wanting to actually speak it and know it.
I feel like that's a cultural thing, and I would love if you I don't know if you have any insight on this. Something I
Mhm.
realize the more people I meet from, I mean, even just living here in Florida where I'm at, the amount of
Mhm.
people that are transplants that just they're not from the United States or not from Florida, and they come in and they're
Mhm.
all I mean, so many people are bilingual. Like obviously Spanish
Mhm,
English or you could literally something else. But I remember meeting somebody
mhm,
when years ago. They were a foreign exchange student from Germany, and they knew four languages. They were in high school, and they knew
mhm.
four languages. And I'm like, I know one. I know English, And I just feel like our culture doesn't push that like other like we're very spoiled, let's be honest, as Americans. Like
Mhm.
we know English, and English is like the business language. It's spoken in
Yep,
multiple countries. Even if it's not their main language, they probably know it, so you can still travel and like get
yep.
by. We're very spoiled when it comes to that because I'm like, man, we're not made or forced to learn another language because we don't feel like we
Mhm.
need to learn another language. And I think that's a huge disservice to us as our culture and our country because I'm like, man, we really do need to know more languages. So where do you
Mhm.
think that comes from? Like why is that happening?
It's exactly that. It's a needs thing. It's culturally and worldwide, English is understood to be the business language of the world. So it goes back to your brain doesn't see the need in the subconscious level. You are, since you're a baby, you are filtering out as the efficiency machine that the brain is. You're filtering out all the things that you don't need to waste energy in. And as an American, we have here a huge country that you could travel all 50 states all your life and still not see everything. You have everything you need for your life. And so what these other cultures might be seeing, as I saw, it was a way to get a leg up in life, and that becomes, survival. It's the greatest instinct, the greatest motivator for people to do stuff. And so you learn. A lot of people in my era, so it's been a few years now. I'm losing track of time, but it's been almost 30 years I've been here in the US. But in my era, everybody wanted to learn English because it gave you a leg up professionally and gave you a chance to pursue things in the future. And so I imagine in Europe, with the proximity of all those countries, the exposure to other languages, the need to be able to do certain businesses and things like that. Like if you live in what am I thinking? Belgium. You have just in Belgium, you have three languages within Belgium themselves, depending on what area you're in. If you live in a certain place, you speak French, in another you speak German, in another you speak Dutch. And so the need is there since you're little. And we're blessed here in America that we don't have that need. So unless you have a desire, uh, then then you naturally won't pursue it. And I don't fault people for that. It's a positive to have it, and it does. From my studies, I've learned that it does make a huge difference in your brain development and intelligence and IQ and all those things. And a lot of immigrant parents in past eras were afraid of the children not learning English, so they didn't push their first language, and therefore they and so that's a different totally different topic I've done some research on. um, I actually have a book on it. It's called Bilingual Parenting, which ironically I feel like I have failed to do with my own son. My son is 16 and he knows Portuguese. It's in his brain. When we went to Brazil, he was able to understand people, but he doesn't speak it because when he hit the school age, kindergarten, first grade, he stopped speaking Portuguese to me and I didn't push. And some parents pushed, some parents. And so I just kept feeding the little things and trying to stay in his brain that I feel like if he picked up to study now, or if he went to Brazil within a few weeks, he probably could pick up the language. But my main point in my book is that each family, it's their decision. It's they have to decide for themselves um, how is it going to work? What's the situation of the family? In our case, our decision was when he was a baby, I only spoke to him in Portuguese. And so, because my wife doesn't speak Portuguese, when he hit that age that he was speaking back, and I'd stop. It's my own fear of just the challenges of life. And so, my point in the book, it's never to judge the parents what decision they make, but just to instruct them in how it could be done. So if you want your kid to be bilingual, you don't even have to speak it yourself. That's where it comes into the language lab too. My parents didn't speak English at all, and so and even my father didn't see the point of us spending all that money for me to learn English. Well, A good thing he was wrong. and so even as parents, that I would encourage parents, and with the tools that we have, that it just by way of encouragement, by way of, sometimes forcing, sometimes they know you're going to do this because you got to know what's better for your child. So you're going to take this course. So you're going to learn this. You're going to stick with it. And so they can have a bilingual home, even if they don't speak the language, which translates to, how can a teacher that doesn't speak the language facilitate something like this? You just have to be engaged, and you have to use the tools that are in front of you. And we have it. I think that was the key ingredient of it all, is that we have all of this at our disposal. You can learn virtually anything with all the digital things. When I got back to the school about 9 years ago, I wanted to polish up my marketing, because I hadn't been in the field for so many years. So I got online and found a free course from Harvard, from Columbia. And so I took a few different courses from those Ivy League schools that were out there for free. And I'm like, well, if you're offering for free, and I need to polish and update too, because one of them was marketing in the digital world. And because marketing 30 years ago and marketing now has shifted a lot, and the marketing funnel and all of those things, that the tools were out there. And just as a grown-up person, I was able to work through that course without anybody being over my shoulder. But as teachers, you have to ask yourself, how many students actually, you might have some that, I don't want to discredit those, those perfectionist students that go after it, and they're self-taught and things. They're out there. But how many teenagers do you find out there that are like that? They're going to take something from start to finish without any accountability. You're on your own. Go figure out.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. And you said for this too, you suggest this for juniors and seniors, not for younger students. I think you'd mentioned on our first call together. Is that true?
Yeah. That's when I first created. We have used it for freshmen and sophomore, but depending on what they needed and their schedule, because being a small school, you have to fit their schedules appropriately. But I saw the higher rate of success from those older students because of the maturity level. But you might have a sophomore that is very mature. Like I said, you have to, I would suggest for academic deans, they're looking into this, and the people that are looking at their schedule, to know the student and what they're capable of. But initially I suggested just juniors and seniors, but I had the struggle with juniors and seniors also, because of where they were in their journey and what they wanted to do with language. Like I said, the one that was learning French, he was actually, when he started, he was a junior. And as a senior, he was just trying to get through and get the credit so he can graduate. And so, but definitely juniors and seniors because of the maturity level. But if you have a sophomore that's mature, they might stick with the program and do well.
Okay. I got kind of two final questions for you. First, the last one, or second to last one, would be if you want to share any final successes or any failures of when you guys have implemented this, rolled it out, of hey, this went really well, this didn't go so well. Talk about that for a few minutes, and I'll have one final question for you.
Oh, sure. What worked really well was the ability to have all these different topics. We went from having a limited Spanish program to a multilingual program that allowed the students to pick. So that was very efficient with language and with Christian evidences. Another curriculum we use is marriage and the family, which is a topic that it's not fitting our regular Bible curriculum. But if a student needs to have our Bible credit, and so we're able to offer that. So we had marriage of the family and Christian evidences. The other piece is the ability of this program to expand to any uh, curriculum with a digital presence that you can use and you trust, and you can create yourself. That's the flexibility. The other success of it is the flexibility that we have to be able to manage the curriculum. With the Christian evidences, I was able to record it myself. I got permission from the 𝒊𝒕'𝒔 and recorded, I think, 144 videos, small videos that deliver the entire curriculum. And so you can maneuver that. And so if you have the personnel, so the only thing that it takes is its time and effort. That was one of the greatest successes, that we did all of this without costing Christian Academy a single penny. It was, you pretty much, you donate your time, because I spent a whole summer recording all these videos. And so, but I didn't cost the school a penny. And so this is especially successful for schools that don't have the finances and the size. All it takes is somebody that's willing to put in the time and effort. But the greatest challenges was the handoff, the finding the right teacher to be the facilitator, because the least, I guess I'm trying to figure out how to say it, but the worst, I guess, we have done as far as the students getting the progress with their language and all that, was when the facilitator wasn't the right fit. And so we've learned, we saw, and I gathered some data and how they did, and how the assessments and all of that. So the challenges the schools might have, it's trial and error of who is your right facilitator. And for that to happen, you have to stay on top of it. It takes some time to see how the students are doing in the beginning of the school year, in the middle, and at the end, before you say this is the right person. And so
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Good, man.
Mhm.
Well, hey, let's wrap up. I know we've been going for a little bit on this one. Let me wrap up with this. I know you've been
Yeah.
doing this a while. You've been doing this a long time, and you're well versed in this area. But if you were to share one final piece of advice for the school leaders listening in this
Mhm.
area, what would that one final piece of advice be?
It's, don't be afraid to jump in. It's General Patton that said a good plan, boldly done, chased, performed, is better than a perfect plan. It's sometimes we hold ourselves back because we're so afraid of making the mistake that we never even try it. And something like this is new, it's different. And so I had to convince our board and then our administration, and then try to get everybody in. And there's still doubts because it's so new. But don't be afraid of trying it, because if you might miss on some important things. I think this is an excellent tool. I've been trying to give this out for free to everybody, but they're suspicious because it's free. It's like, why does it just work so well for us? The Christian Academy now has something that it's been used for a few years now, that has saved us a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of headache of trying to staff a program. Being able to staff one person to cover several subjects in one classroom. Like I said, I had at one point 3 different languages, and I even have more, because I had somebody doing Christian evidences while the other ones were doing languages, and so we're able to maneuver all of that. So I guess my final piece of advice is, like, don't be afraid to try it and try new things and different methods. And that's where it came from, is just a need that sparked an idea that if we hesitated and didn't try, we wouldn't have what we have today.
Yeah. Is there a way for them to find the stuff that you've created and that you've done? And you talked about trying to give it out to people. Is there a place for them to find that?
Well, not really, because I never intended to sell it.
Okay.
It was just my contact. So, and that's actually, I would have no problem if anybody reached out to me, that to talk to them, to show them how it's done, to give them everything they need and show them our program. So I guess here with you, I'll put it out there that if anybody is curious about it, I really have no problem taking the time of explaining one-on-one individually. I have my, the only thing I have is my own website, but I don't know if it's relevant to this, but I guess you can find how to find me. It's just maestribooks.com. Then you find me, and then I can help whatever you guys need. It's not, I don't want to sell my books here with you, but that's how you find me.
Okay.
It's my website.
And spell it out for everybody so they know how to search it up.
Okay, it's Maestri, which is my name, Maestri, books altogether.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Anderson, love what you guys are doing. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk about all the stuff you guys are doing and pouring into our audience. So wishing you nothing but the best as you continue to grow this and teach more students language. And again, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to our guests for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love the people that I get to interview in this podcast. And as always, I'm hoping you guys are able to take at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Before you guys go, I do want to make sure you are aware of our 3 free resources available here at School Success. And the first one is, of course, the podcast that you're listening to right now. We are dropping weekly episodes every single Monday morning. We want to make sure you guys aren't missing out. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't left a 5-star review, we would love a 5-star review as well. The second one is on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com. In the top right-hand corner is a button, School Success Report. You just click that and sign up for that. We send it directly to your inbox every single week. It's full of different articles our team has either found or written to help you, the school leader, be more successful. And last but not least is our free Facebook community called School Success Makers. It's an awesome place. I'm personally in there. I'd love to see you in there as well. Get some good community around you, ask questions, and just have some fun. So make sure you are joining our free Facebook community. We'd love to see you in there. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. We'll be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.